What's up, everybody? Take like 1,000. I'm gonna apologize in advance. I cannot find my headphones with the mic, so the audio from my voice is gonna sound like trash. You're gonna hear the fan from my laptop. There's not much I can do about it. I do know it's gonna sound like crap, but it's what we got right now. Going a little crazy with the social distancing. I don't want to say quarantine. It's not that bad. I think it's gonna be way worse. But I put out if anybody wanted to try a track walkthrough. So somebody had asked to do 4 minutes till sunrise or just something from these songs for the Forgotten album. Um, so this project, I'm really bad at hitting the old collect all and save, which basically makes like a duplicate audio file of whatever you have in there with its drums or effects or anything like that. So a lot of my old projects, because I've gotten new computers and I've moved stuff, like they don't know where those files are, and you have to re-link them and all that stuff. And sometimes I maybe have deleted the audio files, and so anyway, a lot of my old projects don't open fully. This one does, except for this, which is just kind of crickets in the background. It's very subtle, so I'm not even going to bother trying to go on the internet and find where I got this from. But everything else should all be there. This is unmastered, so it's going to sound a little different. In the past, I did a lot in the mastering phase. Actually, a lot of times would mix into a master rack, which I highly suggest you don't do. And I really focus on making the mix as best you can before you actually mastering. I was talking to Von Herzog actually about this last night. He's helped me out with some stuff. And even then, even though I was doing less than I used to, I still was kind of doing too much. So really focus on the mix itself. And then the master is really just a polish. So anyway, this track is the opener to the album. It's fun for me. I don't know if anyone ever noticed. From the time the drums kick in until the time the song's over. The song's called 4 Minutes Till Sunrise. You may know it as 4 Minutes Till Midnight because it got put into DistroKid wrong, and so it took forever to change it and all that. But it's actually from when the drums kick in to when it's done is 4 minutes. And so I did that little Easter egg I thought was kind of fun for myself. But yeah, the story, I don't know, the theme, the kind of ideas of the album is this idea of not necessarily purgatory, but a person there. You see that in the top of the album. It's like they're in this place that's different, and it's this you're experiencing these things that it's all new, and then you kind of realize like where you are, and as you can see, like the tone of the album kind of shifts to this kind of like happy, whimsical beginning and uplifting to kind of a bit more dark, and love will come again is this idea of, they're stuck where they are until, the people they miss die and come with them. So anyway, that's a little bit about what I was thinking with this track, this idea of kind of, you're in this place and they're racing to the top, to catch that sunrise for wherever they are. I was thinking a little bit like Lost or on some island, that type thing. Anyway, so I do have the ability to mute myself, which would be legit, so I can just do this. And then we're all good, and you have to hear this awful fan, so I'll play a little bit of the track, I'll talk about some of the pieces. One of the things that I really try to do with this album was make it more like live sounding. So all of these are either samples or from VSTs or, synths and all that. But I want like the drums and the horns and all that stuff. I wanted to make it sound like there was some live aspect. So I can talk to you a little about what I did to make things sound more live and less kind of robotic. So here we go. Whoops, let's go from the beginning. So there's a couple things happening. In the beginning, we have just this. This is just a stock Ableton sound from the percussion kit. Who doesn't like that? I do have the piano. It's just the M1. There's a nice, but the bunch of DAWs will have some way to kind of humanize, if you're playing something like a piano. So there is actually a piano. This controls the velocity, so it kind of tampers down. So it's not just like you're smacking it. Even though I probably could have done a better job of humanizing this. It's just an M1 piano. And the other thing that I have is kind of in the background is this Preda piano chords again. And this is, so I want this to be up front. I want you to hear the piano, but I also do want to kind of have this like ethereal sound in the background. So in the background, you have this. And so what that lets you do is you can kind of layer these two. So if I play these both together, so you have that kind of there's this piano here kind of sits underneath that main piano and it provides some kind of ambience in the background. There's also this drone playing, which is just stock Ableton sound. And if this was was working, there was also some kind of crickets, just giving you a little. I like to do that. Just kind of have like really low. It's like really low, lot of reverb, and just kind of have it sit in the background and take up some space. So now as the bass kicks in, the bass is going to be from the Tal, the all Uno. They just saw in some chorus. One thing that I did is if you want like a wide kind of detuned chorus bass, you want to cut out the low end and you want to put in a sub bass. What this allows you to do, I just do this in general, it's a lot easier to control the volume of the sub bass. I feel like that is one of the toughest areas. It just takes up so much energy. If you don't have it, the track sounds awful. If you have too much of it, you can't hear anything. So finding that balance is really tough, and this allows me to better control that. It also allows me to keep the sub bass in mono, which is something that if you put this sick chorus on the bass, it's going to be really hard to do. So the bass is going to kick in, and then there's some more percussion that comes in again from that same kit. So let's listen. And so when all that comes in, when all that comes in, I have some different vocal samples, a lot of kind of auto pan. This one, I have it almost ends up being like a noise gate, throwing back to the old trance days, but you get like a stutter sound, also along with. And then, geez. So what I did a lot with these is I would take pieces from longer pieces, cut them up, put them together, bounce them out together, make sure they're all in key and all that, and kind of chop it up that way. So that kind of runs throughout the entirety of the project itself. So close that. For the bus processing, I did a little bit of side chaining. For this, again, I wanted to sound like a more live album. I didn't want that. The outrun, you have a lot of side chain to get that groove with the bass and the kick. But for this, I wanted, this helps the kick cut through a little bit, but I also didn't want to have like that dance kind of, side chain sound. So now we get to this part where more sounds come in, and I'll just play it. All right, so we'll just stop it there. So we have some different elements come in. We have this ARP that's going to come in. We also have this pluck. That just runs throughout the track, so does the ARP. And what I did here, it makes it a little easier for me sometimes to process or level out. So this is the same piano as this one. It's just I separated. This is the higher register. And this is some notes, but if you notice, the velocity is turned way down. So, you know, I wanted it to kind of sit in the background, not be so present, but also, you know, have some feel. I think actually a lot of this album I played in stuff live in the keyboard. Um, this actually, I was at my old place at a huge desk, so I had a nice setup with the keyboard. I cannot play the piano, but I was able to, you know, play it out, so it had a bit more of a human feel. And obviously, I would quantize it and adjust the velocities. So this piano part comes in, and it just sits in the background. And there's also this sound. That's just stock Ableton. I got. By the way, if you don't have this, pick it up right now. Go to Tal. It's Tal Chorus LX, best thing ever. Let's see. So then the drums kick in. So the drums, there's actually a bit going on. So if you take a look at the drums, again, it's a pain manually doing the velocities. I try to make the kick one velocity, but there's a little bit, so I'll show you how Ableton allows you to have a little bit of random velocity. But you know, the play on the hi-hats, if I can just mute this, and you can hear just the hi-hats right now. So one thing that I did with the hats, you want to mess with the velocity. You don't want that machine gun like of all the same volume, all the same exact sound, and all that. So there's a couple things you can do. One thing is you can map the pitch and just a little bit of pitch, like five. You want to put it up maybe like 5 steps, but then like a little bit of pitch. So just little variations in the velocity will then subtly change the pitch. You hit a hat. Now you're not always hitting the hat in the same exact place with the same exact force. So it gives you a little bit of difference, I guess, within that. Just cut out some of the low end, cut out the low end, have some reverb, and then you're all good. Now, as far as we add back in the kick and the snare, one thing that I wanted that to talking about that syncopated rhythms on the hi hat, and I kind of like that like into then the snare. So we'll just play it. I really liked kind of how that played. The kick is just a kick sample. I believe I actually got this from That Sound gave it like a free pack. It was like they had like some from the 1985 sample, or yeah, was it? Yeah, 1985 sample. It's from That Sound. Check them out. They're actually really good drums actually. So it's just one sample. What I did was actually turn the velocity up from that. So it's one kick, and I added. I used to use this. I still use a little bit. Afro DJ Match, but I gate reverb, which makes it really easy to gate the reverb. So it's drum sound that kicks in like this. And the snare is also one sample, compressed, cut out a little bit, and also same gate reverb. So that's going to sound like this. And honestly, looking back, that's a lot of reverb. I think if I would go back, I could mix some stuff differently. I mean, that's always what it is, right? You're always looking to make changes. Um, so that's really it for the drums. I did some, some of the other tracks with more intricate drums. I did some other stuff, and you can also do the same thing with with your snare samples that you do with. You would have to do this. This one's sampler, so I think right now this is simpler, and you can do it with sampler. But you can also do that, kind of change the pitch depending on the velocity. So if you listen to the drums again in its entirety, and with the whole track, just bus processing, little EQ, oof, old school. Do like this saturation knob from, this is free, soft tube, gives a little taste, it'll brighten everything up, and then a little compression to glue it all together. So all together it sounds like this. And then later on, as this goes on, I've called it like long lead. I have a couple different variations of this sound. This one is just, it's actually a free OBXD. If you want to screenshot that, there you go. But it sounds like this. So that is a sound that is being fed into a really long reverb, and it's just some saws and the filters open. It's kind of like Vangelis sound, a little bit of auto pan to kind of give us some movement, and mixed in with everything else, it sounds like this. So we get to this point, and here we have like a little. And of course, a computer flags and cracks. So this is just kind of kicking. And so what you can do is I was looking up different ways of how do you create that like flam sound where you're smacking it and one stick is going to hit the snare very briefly or very shortly before the other, and so you get that like sound. And so what you can do is you have one like very you have it lined up where you want. This is your main hit. So you have a higher velocity, and then you have another sound which is like just a little bit before it at a lower velocity. And so I'll just mute everything else except for the kick. There we go. So if you listen to just that, it's all right. So that's a way of again making your drums sound a bit more realistic. So it builds up, then you have this, the piano comes in, again, same piano as what was playing over here, but this one, velocity is up, and so it's going to stand out more, it's going to be louder, and so it's going to be up more in the mix. So play it all together. So there you go. So it goes through some different parts. I like, sometimes if I'm trying to have this kind of dreamy feel, this repetition, these different, almost using like patterns. So you could call this like pattern A, pattern B. This part that comes in here, and they just kind of like repeat through. For the outro, I really wanted to play again. It's kind of, if we're thinking about this person is kind of racing to the top of this high point. That kind of like you have this anticipation of getting there, and then you finally reach it. It's like this like kind of need this exhale, um, and there you are, and you've reached the point that you were trying to get to. So that was kind of what I was thinking of with the outro part of this, and it's kind of extended. Now I wanted the piano. The piano, again, same piano, but as you notice now, really low in the velocities, so it's going to be sitting kind of low in the mix itself. But I did kind of want to have, like, these subtle sounds all kind of playing at the end, so we'll play that. So at this point, you can see there's auto filters. They're pretty much most of the tracks kind of filtering down, taking off the high end, giving some space for the piano, but also kind of slowly taking out these parts of the song. There you go. The only other part that kind of got added in is this guitar. And this is just stock Ableton. You can download this if you have Live. You can download the bass and guitar, and look out, crazy stuff. But I feel like that adds a little extra pattern kind of in the background as all these things are kind of filtering down. We have these auto filters coming in again, taking the top off, and the idea was to have this, and the voice, the vocal parts kind of kick out, the ambient drums kick out, and now you have that exhale, and you are at the top. So that is really it. As far as processing, a lot of bus processing is, I'll do a little saturation, a little side chaining, maybe some compression. This one I've been using the glue. I have different ones I really use now. But that's it. I think one of the biggest things when you're making, you're mixing a track is just EQ. There's a million different plugins that you can get. I use a lot of times FabFilter, but if you notice, this is just stock Ableton. Right, so having a good modern setup, I was able to mix this. I don't have space from my current apartment, but I was able to mix this on some KRKs, and so that was huge. And if you don't have the ability to have modders, there's ways. I think I have a video about showing, can opener and different things in like Morphit. There are different things you can use if you do have headphones. But more than anything, if you're looking to improve your songs, look at the mixing. And the music matters, but you do have to make sure that the music can come through the way you want it to. So that's really it. If you have any other requests, I'll do my best. Again, I'm the worst at collecting all and saving, so I may not be able to do that project file. But if you want maybe a particular sound, I could do a whole track again. But yeah, that's it. Well, let me know.